Let's talk about court packing. So this was one of the first questions that Joe Biden got from Chris Wallace, and it's an important question. You know, this is not one of the juicy sort of criminal law, Breonna Taylor type of exchanges here, but this is a critical issue because if the Republicans appoint or actually nominate and confirm Amy Coney Barrett, it's going to change the balance of the court for probably the next 40 to 50 years. This is a major issue that I think is not getting a lot of attention, or at least as much attention with the sort of the popular component of mainstream America. The legal people like me, the political junkies like me, yeah, we're highly invested in this, and I've been covering it a lot here on this channel. But the general public, the 67 million people who watched last night, they may not necessarily understand what court packing is or why it's such a big deal. And so before we go into the clip, I would just want to give you a very brief recap on what that means and how that works in the United States. So when it comes to court packing, what we're talking about is this idea that we want to expand the number of judges on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court at this moment in time has had 9 judges for 150 years. So 9 justices for all 150 years. And it's important to note that this is actually not required. It's not mandatory in the Constitution. Congress can actually expand or contract the size of the Supreme Court. They haven't done it in 150 years, but they could do it. And since Biden, simply had not commented on this issue about whether they're going to change the balance of power in the court or whether they're going to expand or pack the court, this came up during the issue. This came up specifically during the debate. So here's what this would look like. This was the court when Justice Ginsburg was on it, right? We have 4 judges who are reliably liberal, 5 judges, the conservative wing of the court, who are reliably conservative, and now we have a vacancy. So it looks like this, right? And this is where Donald Trump came in and appointed his 3rd nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, to replace that vacancy. And that would seriously tip the balance of power in the courts. They would be reliably conservative at that point. You would have 6 reliably conservative judges on the court, and then the left-wing liberal wing of the court would really be minimized down to 3. So it would be a 6-3, which would be different from a 5-4, which is what we had when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was on there. So if we are in a position where the Democratic Party seizes control or wins control, or however you want to phrase that, of all 3 branches of government, then they would have the opportunity, because they have the executive branch, which would sign off on a bill from Congress. Congress would have, it would originate in the House, pass the Senate, they would reconcile the bill, they would send it over to the president. A Democrat at that point, would then sign it, and the court could be expanded, and it could look like this. So now the next president, the next Democratic president who got this bill through and signed into law, would then automatically, immediately be able to just go ahead and appoint 4 more judges just right out of the gate. Wouldn't have to wait for any of these 6 reliably conservative judges to retire or pass away or be impeached or removed from office or one of those things. They would just go ahead and say, okay, cool. We're just going to add 4 more or 5 more or 6 more, whatever they want, because they have control of that. Then they could appoint their judges because they have control of the Senate. Also, they would get them all confirmed with a simple majority vote, so 51 votes or 50 votes plus the vice president, and they could just pack the court. So it is a big deal, right? This could change the fundamental nature of the judiciary for a very, very long time, and rightfully, Joe Biden was asked about it. Now, we have the clip. Chris Wallace, like I said, this was one of the earliest clips right in the beginning, and I was able to pull this from a website called rev.com. They have a great little transcription service. We use it a lot in our videos here and the things we do at our law firm. And what they did is they actually put a transcript on their website so we can watch the video and we can read along with the transcript, and you can see exactly what was being said. So let's take a look at this first clip from Joe Biden. Chris Wallace asks him specifically, what are you going to think about in terms of packing the court? So here is that clip.
Mr. Vice President, if Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. vote and let your senators know how
Are you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to
a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a
is
lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is your,
up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
Gentlemen,
This is-
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
unprecedented.
He's gonna pack the court.
We have ended. No, no.
All right. So, yeah, that's about kind of how the entire debate went, right? They were asked questions. Nobody wanted to answer anything. This was a pretty critical question to answer. I wanted to hear what Joe Biden had to say about it. I think a lot of lawyers did. A lot of people in the criminal legal community were all sort of, hey, what's going to be happening here? It's looking like, Joe Biden's way up in the polls. Didn't have a bad debate last night. This may be a real possibility if there's a blue wave that happens and the Democrats take control of all three branches or of the two branches of government. They'll then have the opportunity to take advantage or to actually transform that third branch, the judiciary, into another Democratic basically institution for a long time. So very important question. Joe Biden didn't want to answer it. There is a lot of a lot of pushback on the Supreme Court going both directions. If you're a Republican, you're like Senator Tom Cotton. He said that Biden is afraid of losing or alienating the far left flank, losing the election. And he's going to one side of this. He's taking an extreme position, sort of indicative of a lot of the arguments you hear from the right. He's saying that if they pack the court, we're going to lose the right to religious freedom. We're going to lose the Second Amendment. We're going to use tax dollars, what he says, for abortion on demand. We're going to have, leading up to 9 months of pregnancy, giant corporations, all sorts, sort of the really, really, really extreme version of what's going to happen if the Democrats take control. On the other side, you have the Democrats. I'm getting a lot of emails in my inbox from candidates running saying that if Amy Coney Barrett is appointed onto the Supreme Court, this is the end of women as we know it. This is the end of, of abortion. We're not going to be able to do anything. We're going to be getting abortions in back alleys with coat hangers and things. I mean, really gross, colorful language is being used on both sides. I don't think it's probably either one of those things. It's probably somewhere in the middle, as most things are, but all of the politicians are going to be scrambling to either side of the aisle to make hay out of this whole situation. Now, it is still important that Joe Biden tells us what he's going to do. And if you back up on the clip, he says, whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. Right? That's exactly what he says at the very beginning of this clip. He says, whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should go out and vote now, vote, to let your senators. Anyways, it's a non-answer. He doesn't answer it at all. He hasn't disclosed what his position is on that, in large part because I think there's some truth to what the Republicans are saying. They're saying that if he says, I'm not going to pack the court, he's going to immediately alienate a big swath of the Democratic Party who want to see that change. They want that. It's part of the rules. The Constitution says you can do it. And the Republicans here, they're kind of playing a dangerous game to a certain degree. They're saying, hey, we have the election. Trump opened the entire debate on this point. He said, hey, we won the election. We have the right to vote. I'm a president for 4 years, not 3.5 years. We have a vacancy on the Supreme Court during my term. I have the right to appoint somebody, and he's right. He does. If the Democrats win the Senate, the House, and the presidency, now it's their turn, right? Elections have consequences, and so they have the full authority, the full capability, constitutional and everything, to go and pack that court. So a lot of the liberals, a lot of the Democratic Party is saying, hey, if Biden doesn't do that, we're going to be upset about it. And I don't blame them, right? They have the right to do it if they win. And so Biden is taking a very middle of the road position here. And this is the theme that you're going to see throughout the rest of the debate. Some pretty important questions were asked. Both of these candidates didn't want to take a real strong position going either way. And who's left with nothing to show for it? Well, the American people. We have no good takeaways from this thing. I don't think anybody walked out of this going, you know what? I'm in love with that candidate. I can't wait to vote for him. It was just a gross display all around. So we'll see if we know more about court packing from Joe Biden anytime soon. I don't think he's going to take a hard position on this issue moving forward. So we're just going to presume that it's open in the air until we hear otherwise. He gave a non-answer there, and I don't expect that to change moving forward.